Mishnah Hey. ביאור משנה ה' משנה זו ומשנה שלאחריה, this Mishnah and the Mishnah afterwards, עוסקים בדברים שנוהגים במרחץ. Are talking about things that are done in a bathhouse. You remember in those times bathhouse was a big time. The Romans, you remember they had a lot of bathhouses in Israel, and also they had.
בשכונת הבוכרים, החמם הטורקי.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see what's going on. הרוחץ בשבת. I think, by the way, there was a decree from the rabbis not to wash on Shabbat. I don't know if he's going to discuss it here.
איך אפשר להתרחץ בשבת? אסור.
You're not going to mikvah on Shabbat.
מקווה, אבל לא להתרחץ.
Yeah. רוחץ means to go into a body of water. It doesn't matter what. רוחץ. Yeah. So, and the reason why they did it, they said, don't take זה on Shabbat. Why? Because it's a decree from the rabbis. It's not you're allowed to. You're allowed to. It's not a problem. But the people would go to the bathhouse on Shabbat and just go like used to the mikveh. But the problem was that the owners, they were afraid that the owners of the bathhouse are going to warm it up on Shabbat itself. They will tell the goy to warm it up, or the day will warm it up, or it was a goy who owned the bathhouse.
They warm it up for themselves, not for the Jew.
So they would warm it up for the customers, whatever the customers is. You will pay a weekly fee, then it's for you, whatever it is. And since people started to use this, no, don't go on Shabbat because I don't know if he's going to discuss this, but just have this in mind. הרוחץ בשבת במי מערה. מי מערה means water inside a cave. There used to be holes inside a cave and people used to go inside. ובמי טבריה, and the water of טבריה, או בחמי טבריה, the hot bath of טבריה, בגמרא מבואר, in the Gemara it explains, שמשנתנו נקטה במי טבריה, המשנה said, the water of טבריה, ללמד שאף במי מערה, to teach us that even though in the water of any water inside a cave, היינו במים חמים בדומה למי טבריה, any hot water similar to the water of טבריה, וכגון שמי המערה הוחמו באש מערב שבת. It's only when the water was warmed up from Friday night. They used to throw, stones, hot stones or hot metals inside, and it used to keep the water warm. ואף על פי שבחמי טבריה מותר לכתחילה לרחוץ בשבת. חמי טבריה is different, because over there you're allowed to wash on Shabbat. It's a hot spring, what's the problem? But over here in the cave, it used to be warmed up. That's the problem. מכל מקום נקטה משנתנו הרוחץ לשון דיעבד, משום מי מערה. It says they're worried, not because of חמי טבריה, they're worried because of warming up from ערב שבת. שכן במים חמים שבמערה אסור לכתחילה לרחוץ בשבת. The rabbi says, don't wash in this water on Shabbat, גזרה משום מרחץ. This is a decree because of the bathhouses. שכן חכמים אסרו להיכנס במרחץ בשבת. The sage says, don't go into a bathhouse on Shabbat, even though it's warmed up from ערב שבת, מפני הבלנים שהיו מחממים את המים בשבת, מאומרים מערב שבת הוחמו. They used to warm it up on Shabbat and says, don't worry, we warmed it up before. So the sage says, if it's a bathhouse, it's not natural, don't go. Also, if it's natural, if it's water in a cave, also don't go. Because sometimes they warm this water up from before Friday. So don't go. It's like a bathhouse. That's the idea. So the question is, what happened if a person, I don't know, he went. He forgot this decree and he did go. So what happened? ואם רחץ אדם בשבת, if a person did go into such a place, like חמי טבריה is allowed to go, but the other ones, or a bathhouse, let's say he went to a bathhouse he wasn't supposed to, ונסתפג, וניגב את גופו, and he took a towel and he dried his body. אפילו ב10 אלונטיות, even if he dried his body with 10 with 10 with 10 towels. Why do you say 10 towels? Because it's not really wet now. You're not worried. That's right. He made sure that it's not wet. Because if it's wet, maybe it's going to come to squeezing. שהתנגב בהם בזו אחר זו, that he used 10 towels, this one after and this one, לא יביאם בידו לביתו. He shouldn't carry them now into his house. Let's say there's an eruv in town. He shouldn't carry these towels in his hand. אפילו במקום שאין איסור צער, even a place where you're allowed to carry. גזרה, שמא יבוא לסחטן. You're worried, maybe he's going to do whatever he does during the weekday. What does he do during the weekday? Today we don't do that, but in the old time they used to squeeze them out. גזרה, שמא יבוא לסחטן. It's a decree, maybe he's going to do what he usually does in the weekday. What does he usually do? He squeezes them, takes the water out. ואף על פי שבמגבות האחרונות שהתנגב בהם אין עלמת מים, even though there's a little bit of water over there, ואין צריך לסחטן, it's not really necessary to squeeze them, מכל מקום גזרו בכולם. It says, no, I don't care how many you used, don't do it because you're going to do whatever you're doing during the weekday.
It's strange how that they fall to the water, all your clothes are there, they're not coming, they're not saying in here, תבוא לידי סחיטה, מפחדים. Because
over there you don't have a choice. Over here you have a choice.
בסדר, אז לפחות תגיד, אולי תעמוד 5 דקות ותיתן למים לרדת, משהו.
That's what they say.
אולי 10 דקות.
You don't have to worry about it. They say.
They said you don't have to worry about סחיטה. הנעליים שלך,
I'll give you one better. They know for sure there's going to be סחיטה.
אבל אין nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do.
אבל למה they don't mention it?
They do. They tell you have to do it. No, over there they tell you you're allowed to, even though you're wearing them, and it's going to, we all know we're going to move, and it's going to squeeze the thing out. So you're allowed to, exactly. Exactly. What, you're going to walk naked? Yeah. אבל 10 בני אדם, but now it's going to go the opposite way. Oh, I think we had such a similar thing. 10 בני אדם מסתפקים באלונתית אחת, you can get 10 people, used one towel, פניהם, ידיהם ורגליהם, and you can use it for everything. In other words, it's going to be completely wet, והוא הדין כל גופם, even the entire body, אלא שכן דרכו של דבר, the reason why it says face, hands and legs, because that's usually what they did, שאין הרבה אנשים משתמשים בגבת אחת לניגוב כל הגוף, that not many people use one towel for the entire body, but over here everybody is using it for the face or for the hands, for example in a mikveh, there's a thing for the towel. כי אם לניגוב פניהם ידיהם ורגליהם בלבד, they're allowed, מביאים אותה בידם. They're allowed to bring them in their hand. No? We did it before.
What's the higayon? What's the logic?
You remember the higayon? We did it with the nail. You remember one person is not allowed to learn on Shabbat next to the candle, but if you have
10 people, and you have a few people.
If you have the students and the Rav, it says the students are allowed next to the Rav. Why? Because it's going to stop them if they're going to touch the candle. You remember that?
Yeah.
What's
that? What was it? Because
אימת המורה על התלמידים.
That he's not going to do it.
That's right. Over here, if you by yourself and carrying 10 towels, nobody is there to remind you. If you're 10 people walking, if one is going to start, hey, what are you doing? Because they're 10 together. They're going to remind each other not to do it. I think that's why. Let's see. ואף על פי שהיא רטובה מאוד, and even though it's very wet, מותר להם להביאה. They're allowed to bring it. ואין חוששים לסחיטם, שמתוך שהם רבים, they're not worried about squeezing, because there's somebody to remind you. מזכירים הם זה לזה שאסור לסחוט. They remind each other that they're not allowed to squeeze. For example, there's a similar thing with learning before Ma'ariv. It says if you're learning by yourself, you're not allowed to, but if you're learning in a group, you are allowed to, because people are going to remind each other.
You have to do it.
Yeah. בגמרא אמרו, in the Gemara they says, שאין הלכה כמשנתנו. In the Gemara says the halacha is not like our Mishnah, it's actually more lenient. It's more lenient. אלא אפילו אחד מותר להביא בידו את המגבת שניגב בה בגופו בשבת, even one is allowed to, ואין חוששים שמא ישרוד אותה. We're not worried that people squeeze it. I think maybe the use of towels is different now than then. Our towels are probably different.
Yeah.
I think the way they used to do towels, they used to go like this, squeeze it, go like this, and squeeze it. It was a small little piece of clothing, not like today where it's made to hold the water. I think it's a different kind of thing. Okay, let's do the bottom. ביארנו במי מערה, we explained in the water of a cave, במים חמים שהוחמו מערב שבת, in warm water that was warmed from before Shabbat. אבל יש מפרשים, there are those who explains, מי מערה, the water in a cave, בחמי טבריה שבתוך מערה. Okay, in the hot springs of Tveria that are inside of a cave. ונקטה משנתנו הרוחץ לשון דיעבד. And our Mishnah says, רוחץ, even though you're not allowed to. Yeah? מפני שבמערה רב החום, because in a cave there's a lot of heat. והרוחץ בא לידי הזעה. It becomes a sauna. It's almost, imagine, you have Mei Tveria comes into a small cave, right?
But you can sweat on Shabbos.
We'll see. והרוחץ בא לידי הזעה, והרי זה כמרחץ. And now you make it exactly like a bathhouse. You can distinguish. You can distinguish between this and a bathhouse. הילקח אסור לכתחילה לרחוץ לו בשבת. Therefore, even according to halacha, there's not a problem, but since it looks like a bathhouse, and the rabbi is made a decree against bathhouse, and this looks exactly the same with the, with the fog and everything. ובברייתא נחלקו תנאים, in the ברייתא we have a disagreement of the תנאים, אם מותר לאדם לשטוף כל גופו בשבת. If a person is allowed to wash his entire body on Shabbat, there's a disagreement. היינו לשפוך מים על הגוף שלא כדרך רחיצה. In other words, to pour water on his body, not in a regular manner. לא ישתף אדם בין בחמים. It says, the Braita says, one should not wash himself, whether it is in hot water, שהוחמו מערב שבת, from Friday, בין בצונן, whether it's even in cold water. This is דברי רבי מאיר. רבי מאיר says, you're not allowed to wash at all on Shabbat. Rabbi Shimon matir. Rabbi Shimon says, no, you are allowed to. בין בחמין, בין בצונן, you're allowed to wash yourself with warm water that was warm before Shabbat, or cold water. Rabbi Yehuda אומר, בחמין אסור. Rabbi Yehuda says, in warm water you're not allowed to, even though it was warm before Shabbat. בצונן מותר, but in cold water you're allowed to wash yourself. והלכה כרבי יהודה. The law is like Rabbi Yehuda, that you're allowed to take a cold shower in Tucson
on Shabbos.
On Shabbos.